What's up, everybody? How's everybody doing today? Hope everybody's having a great day. We're going to talk about the Homunculus update. I know I'm a little late. You know, it is what it is. I'm sorry, guys. But anyway, so I still haven't summoned my Homunculus, and that's a big question for everybody. Everybody asks this question: which Homunculus should I summon? So, before we get into the skills and everything, let's talk about which Homunculus you should summon. Some people say the homunculus you should summon is the ones that you can easily farm, which I can't agree with that, but I can't at the same time. And now, the ones that you can easily farm, meaning the Rift dungeon that you can easily farm. Now, the reason why I don't agree with that is because you need a certain homunculus. Now, I know that you could do a skill reset and whatever the case is, but maybe you don't want to waste that skill reset immediately. And we don't know if they're going to give us any afterwards. So, here's the deal. It depends on what you need, and it depends on what your box looks like. Me personally, I'm going to go for the water one. I've been lacking water AoE monsters. The only ones I have really are Beth and Sigmaris. That's it. Well, you got Tyron and stuff like that, but I want a Nat 5 and I want a monster with really high, with like really good skills. You know what? Let's go into the actual thing over here, all right? Let's take a look at their base stats as well. So none of them have a leader ability, but they all have this passive over here, which is pretty cool. So anyway, let's just compare their base stats real quick. The fire one is really tanky, has a nice attack, and the defense is actually pretty good. Overall, stat-wise, the fire one is probably the best one. He has a high defense, a high attack, and a high base hit points. The water one has a higher base hit point, a higher base attack, not much higher than both, but a really low base defense. So, I really don't know what to say about that. It's just that extra attack, that extra oomph, and then you can create the water one with 2 AoEs. That can be really useful. Then you got the wind one. The wind one has a lot of cool skills. Uh, the thing is, he has the lowest base hit points, and under 10,000, I tend to not like it. But I like his skills, and we'll get into the skills in a little bit. He has a really high base defense. His base defense is nice, and he has a good base attack. Yeah, base attack. They all have 101 speed, so you can't get any higher than 101. Now, my thing with this is his base hit points really do drive me nuts. Anyway, that's besides the point. So let's get into the skills now. All right, we'll talk about the win-win skills first. So, off the bat, attacks the enemy target to disturb the hit point recovery for 2 turns with a 50% chance. Where can that be used? That can be used in a lot of places. That can be used in Guild Wars. Sometimes that gets annoying in Guild Wars, having a lot of more than one monster. Sometimes I fought Guild Wars defenses where you got Orion and you got Kumar, and there's nothing but unrecoverable coming at me the entire time. And I don't have a cleanse or whatever the case is, or I just brought you soon, and it's just it gets annoying sometimes. So that attack gets upgraded. Attacks the enemy target 3 times to disturb the hit point recovery for 2 turns with a 50% chance each. Fine. So it's the same thing. That's more like a necro ability, I guess. Later on, you can use it as a necro ability. And attacks the enemy target to disturb the HP recovery for 2 turns with a 50% chance to destroy the enemy's max HP by 10% of the damage dealt. All right. So he also has another skill later on. His third skill actually turns into something like that as well, I believe. Yeah, he destroys. Okay, so he's good for heavy sustain teams or tanky teams. So anyway, let's go on to the next skill. Attacks the enemy target to decrease the attack speed for 2 turns. So this is the skill that you get, and then you upgrade to the next one. So when you upgrade, you can go either way from the way it looks. So attacks the enemy target 3 times to decrease the target's attack speed. Like as I said, he's like a necro monster. So if you need a monster for necro, he's not bad for necro, and I think he could be used in Guild Wars pretty decently. Attacks the enemy target to decrease the attack speed and leave a branding effect for 2 turns. So this is also good for Necro. This is also good for Guild Wars, and it's also good for raids. That's the other thing. Attacks the enemy target 3 times, weaken the defense, and leaves a branding effect for 2 turns. This is for the 3rd skill, by the way. A huge damage will be inflicted in the end. So, look, if you really need to improve your Necro and your raid teams, I would definitely build him. Absolutely. He actually, I like his kit. Randomly attacks the enemy 5 times. The inflicted damage increases if the same target gets hit again. So this one would be good for Necro, and it would be good for raids. That's pretty handy right there. I'm telling you, it depends on where you are in the game and who you're going to choose in the end. So let's go, if you go the other way with the skills. Alright, attacks the enemy target to stun the target for 1 turn. I guess you could use that for Guild Wars. We looked at this, right? Attacks the enemy target to disturb hit point recovery for 2 turns, and then destroys. So that you can go 2 ways with this. The PvE standpoint would be if you go on the top, and then the PvP standpoint would go if you go on the bottom, from the way it looks. Attacks the enemy target to stun the target for 1 turn with a 50% chance, and destroys the enemy target's max HP by 30% of the damage dealt. Alright. And then another way you could go, attacks the enemy target to stun the target for 1 turn. Okay. And then attacks the enemy target to destroy the enemy's max HP by 50% of the damage dealt. Alright. Attacks the enemy target to inflict damage. The enemy can't be revived if the enemy is defeated with this skill. So as I said, the bottom end on the wind one is more of a PvP standpoint, and the top end is more of like a PvE, which I would really suggest it for Necro and raids. He's not as great when you're going such as like Trial of Ascension and monsters where you do and you don't need it. You don't really need to build him for like Trial of Ascension and stuff like that. So let's go on to the water one now. We're going a little backwards, but it's cool. The water one is probably, I don't want to say the most versatile, but I like him a lot. So anyway, attacks the enemy target to freeze the target for 1 turn, which is cool. That's like a PvP type attack. Attacks the enemy target to remove a beneficial effect and freezes the target for 1 turn. That's really nice. Let's go on to the bottom one. Attacks all enemies to freeze them for 1 turn with a 15% chance. See, this is a really great CC attack. One thing I really like about this, it's an AoE. So, and it's his first skill. So you turn his first skill, you can turn him into a complete AoE monster. And it can be useful, more useful in Trial of Ascension than anything. It could be useful in Guild Wars. I don't see why not. It depends on the multiplier. I'm not 100% sure on the multiplier. I've seen videos. I have them on the side, all 3 of them on my friends list, so we could see what's going on. But let's just leave it at that for now. And attacks the enemy target to weaken the target's defense. Pulverizing magic bullet. Okay, so this is his second skill. It's just a weaken defense. Attacks all enemies to weaken the defense for 2 turns. This is pretty good. Unless you have Galleon, but an AoE type is really good. Attacks the enemy target to inflict damage proportionate to the target's max HP, and weakens the defense for 2 turns. Alright. So, this is like a PvE type attack. You can use this in raids. It's really nice. And I guess for the tanky sustain teams in Guild Wars, you might be able to use it. I really wouldn't go that crazy. Excuse me. I'm actually getting over a cold. I've had a really bad cold for over a week now. Attacks all enemies, and the cooldown of the ice explosion will be decreased by 1 turn each according to the number of enemies defeated. So, I mean, you would rather have a skill that'll just take it all out, take them all out, and that's it, and you're done. It can be used though. I mean, if you end up using it in dungeons, such as like, I actually want to build one and see how he works in dragons. Right now, I'm using Verd, Spectra, Double Tark, and Galleon, and I actually kind of think I might be able to replace him, replace Spectra with him. Because of, we'll go through that skill. Attacks the enemy target to inflict damage proportionate to the target's max HP and reduces the attack bar to 0. This is actually pretty cool for dungeons. It's really good for, let's just say, the boss in Trial of Ascension. Hard, normal, whatever, any bosses. Especially since he's reducing the attack bar to 0. That's pretty cool. The way I would go with him, though, is on the bottom skill set. So let's go over the bottom skill set. Attacks all enemies to decrease their attack bar by 30% with a 50% chance. Fine. That's one attack. There's another one that goes 3 times. Attacks all enemies to absorb their attack bar by 30% each with a 50% chance. And then you can go attacks all enemies 3 times to decrease their attack bar by 30% each with a 50% chance. This I like a lot. Right? This is the skill that I think would be really good for a Dragons B10 team. And if somebody's trying to build like a Speed Dragons B10 team and they don't like Spectra, because Spectra derps, it gets really annoying when Spectra derps. This would be a good skill. If he doesn't derp as much, pretty much when you upgrade the skill, it'll go to a 65% chance. But it's 3 times, so you really can't go wrong. He doesn't have a slow like Spectra, but you throw Violent Runes on him and you build him nicely. The cooldown is 3 turns, so if you Violent procs, it could work out. It could work out really well. Attacks all enemies to inflict damage and freezes them for 1 turn. So another freeze. He's a great CC monster from the way it looks. If you really need to get going in dungeons such as, well, Trial of Ascension, not necessarily in the regular dungeons, other than dragons, but like giants, you know what, he could be used in giants, maybe. But in like Necro and stuff like that, I wouldn't suggest it. But in Trial of Ascension, Dragons, I think he would be really good. Attacks all enemies to inflict 2 continuous damage effects. Now, this is the skill that's pretty cool. 1 continuous damage effect is inflicted additional for each harmful effect on the enemies with a 50% chance. See, this one would actually work out really well in Dungeon. So, he's like a mixture of CC where he can be a little versatile. I really like pretty much most of his skills. I'm actually going to build him. And now, which way I'm gonna go? I'm gonna go with this. I'm gonna go on the bottom end and go try and get this skill. Attacks all enemies 3 times. And then I don't know if I have to decide. I'm gonna have to decide that one later on. There's a lot of farming after you summon these homunculus. You have to farm a lot of stuff afterwards, a lot of materials just to upgrade their skills. This is why sometimes I think it's a little bit of a it's a little too crazy. I don't know if anybody, like, just to sit there and do that, it's just insane. But anyway, especially if you want to go backwards with the skills or something like that, like if you went one way and then you want to go the other way. So now we're on to the fire one. The fire one, from the way he's looked so far to me, is really good, really high PvP, really high, what do you call it? Multipliers on his skills. So anyway, attacks the enemy target to inflict continuous damage for 1 turn with a 50% chance. Attacks the enemy target to inflict continuous damage for 1 turn with a 50% chance. The damage increases according to your attack speed. Now, here's the deal with these monsters that have attack speed multipliers. Attack works perfectly fine with them as well. And then what you look, that's what I did with my Theomars. You could still build it, but they're pretty good either way. You can go speed, you can go attack. You could go both ways, where you're looking for, where you do like attack crit damage attack, or you can do speed crit damage attack and look for attack subs and speed subs. I would do it where, you're always looking for a speed sub for a monster like this so that they can get their turns. And the bottom one, attacks the enemy target to inflict continuous damage for 1 turn with a 50% chance each. Alright, so this is like a PvE on the bottom. Attacks the enemy target to weaken defense, PvP, type, PvE, doesn't matter. Attacks the enemy target to weaken the defense for 2 turns. The damage increases according to attack speed. So he's got 2 skills that go according to attack speed. Okay. Alright, so we're on to this one. Attacks the enemy target to weaken the defense for 2 turns and increases your attack bar by 50%. That's actually pretty useful because, and I'll tell you guys why. My Wind Monkey does that with his 2nd skill, and he increases his attack bar by 50%. So sometimes he ends up cutting out of nowhere, and it comes out pretty useful. Depending on their speed as well, what you end up with from your runes. Attacks the enemy target to inflict damage. The damage increases according to your attack speed of both you and the target. So all 3 of his skills are based on speed. So I guess you can do speed, crit damage, attack, and look for speed and attack substats. Do you want to go for more speed? Do you want to go for more attack? It's whatever the case is. You got to make sure his crit rate, though, is high enough. You know, you always got to go at around 65 to 70% crit rate, especially if you have crit damage in slot 4. So you got to be careful with these monsters. Attacks all enemies to inflict damage. The damage increases according to the attack speed. Again, so you can build him a full speed attack monster. It's pretty cool. That means you could build him. The thing is, though, this is actually an AOE. That's his only AOE that he has, from what I noticed. Attacks the enemy, attacks the enemy, attacks the enemy. Okay, so I've noticed a lot of people that are building him. One of the things they say is, I don't have Zyros, or I don't have this, or I don't have that, or I don't have an AOE fire attacker. So they go on and they build this skill. The multiplier is pretty high, so it's really good. You just gotta have like an AOE weakened defense to go along with that. So let's take a look at the bottom skills. Attacks the enemy target to decrease the attack speed for 2 turns. Okay. I mean, decrease attack speed. Necro, you can use them in Trial of Ascension. Sometimes decreased attack speed actually works out pretty well in Guild Wars. Depending on the type of monster you're fighting, a lot of monsters, especially with violent runes, they're going to proc out of their out of their debuffs. So sometimes it gets really annoying dealing with this. Attacks the enemy target to decrease the attack speed and leave a branding effect. So that's pretty cool with the additional branding effect, which I also said. Oh, but this has a 2-turn cooldown if you max it out. That's actually really good, to be honest with you. That's really good with a 2-turn cooldown. Attacks the enemy target 3 times to decrease the attack speed for 2 turns. Alright. So I guess you could do like a Necro type. You could build him and put him in Necro or something, whatever the case is. I think the top one is better. You can use him in raids, just because you're adding the branding effect. Attacks the enemy target 4 times to inflict continuous damage for 1 turn. Alright. I'm not a big fan of continuous damage other than in PvE, and then even in some PvE instances, you don't need continuous damage, such as against the bosses. Depending on the bosses, but like it doesn't work on the bosses in Trial of Ascension, so it probably has a really high multiplier enemy. Anyway, attacks the enemy target to inflict damage. The damage increases by 30% for each harmful effect on the enemy. See, this would be really good. 30% increase for each harmful effect. This would be really good for raids. It would be really good against bosses, all bosses, with especially ones with high hit points. Depending on guild wars and what do you call it? Arena battles. Depending on how many monsters you bring with debuffs, sometimes in arena battles it's not worth it. You're better off not bringing too many monsters with debuffs because just in case they got Varomos or something. So it's not as versatile. But for PvE points, it is versatile. I actually like this skill right here. Okay, if the multiplier is as high as what I think it is, I don't remember. I think I saw a video where it hit really hard. I would go the top way. If you really need an AoE PvP monster, I would go the top way, and because you can get through everything with just Beretta and a few other monsters PvE wise. So a lot of people, I'm telling you, they're building him. They're going on the top way, and they're building him for PvP purposes. Just because they don't have Zyros, or they don't have Perna, or they don't have other great monsters that do other fire monsters that do great damage. So as I said, we're gonna do my Homunculus summon. Since I haven't, I actually did a video today with I did a collaboration video today with this company, and I saved my Homunculus summon for them, but apparently they didn't want it, so whatever. We get to have it for us. So let's summon this Homunculus, and what are we gonna name it? We're gonna name it after my girlfriend. Now, before anybody says it's too no, it's you know like oh it's ugly. No, let me tell you something. He's not bad. Oh, whoa, what's going on over there? That one on. Okay, so we name our homunculus Cookie, and it's level 1. So let's take a look at the. Oh wait. We want to go. We want to go with the water one. So how do we do that? So I'm guessing when you do the skill evolutions, when you actually get the skill evolutions, you start doing it. What's the deal with that? See, that's where I don't know exactly how to build it. But we just did a homunculus summon. And all right. Sorry guys, we had a quick technical difficulty. So let's see what hit we. I know. All right, I know Frost has the skill that I'm interested in. Let's see if he does. And his is skilled up. Attacks all enemies. Decreases their attack bar by 30% with a 50% chance. Wow. Okay, so we're going to use his because his is fully skilled up. And let's see how it works out with my Dragon team. So my thing about the whole thing with building him now is he's going to improve quite a bit. He's got the double AoE on me. I need a double AoE monster anyways. So wow, look at that. He's wiping things out immediately. Let's see what this is all about. I'm really actually pretty. So what was that? It was a single target skill. All right, we gotta read it. We didn't even check his runes. We'll go and we'll check his runes afterwards. But let's just take a look at what he does over here. You know what? We're gonna stop it real quick. Let's just take a look at what. Yeah, whatever. Doesn't matter. Uh, I just want to stop it and see what skill attacks all enemies to decrease the attack bar by 30% with a 50% chance. Attacks all enemies. So which one is the single target? Oh, attacks the enemy. Okay, fine. The damage increases by 20% for each harmful effect on them. Alright, that's cool. And he still ended up using that. Oh, see, it's a new tablet, so I gotta stop the, what do you call it? The notification thingy. Not the notification, the, see, he decreased the attack. I like that. I really do like that a lot. Alright, it's not gonna work though. I don't think it's working. But they did a lot of damage. It could work. Alright, it worked actually. So that wasn't so bad. Without the slow, without anything. I think if he ended up putting the AoE on the third skill, it might have done a lot more damage. We'll see about that. But and look, what a wonderful rune. Okay, so we got the win one now that we're gonna check out. Let's take the win one into Giants B10. So let's pull him out. Win one in Giants B10. See how he does in Giants B10. And the fire one, where are we taking the fire one? That's the thing. We'll take him to the magic dungeon. Wow, that's pretty cool effects too. He has some really nice effects on his on his first skill. Oh, look at that! Wow, does a lot of damage too. I like it. I hope this is the one that does the branding. See, I didn't check the skills that he chose on him. But I didn't see any branding effect. But he's killing things as it's going along. So got that little AOE. So we got the slow. He has the slow on him and stuff. Unrecoverable, which is normal. Attack 3 times, whatever. Still does really good damage. So they all have high multipliers. I really like all of them. Just depends on what you need, like I said in the beginning. Rainbow Mon. Anybody notice the fluctuation of Rainbow Mon that's going on these days? I'm getting a lot of rainbow mounts. So this is a new tablet, so let's just do this. To kill it as fast as possible. Him. Bring Galleon. There's Galleon. Galleon, and we'll bring. Let's bring an AoE monster. Let's just bring Lucian. Just to check out the damage on all three of them, which all three of them to me do pretty good damage. That water one is a little iffy. It's a good thing we got to test it and this is the first time I'm even testing. I'm even checking any of them out. Yeah, nice AoE. That was that skill I was saying. I like. Oh, see, as I said, it's a new tablet. I didn't set everything up yet. Doesn't really matter. We're not gonna fail. 8,000 damage without defense break. That's really good. 27 on the AoE. Yo, that AoE is really good. See, if I didn't have Zyros, I would definitely go for the fire one. That's a really nice. That's a nice multiplier on his AoE. Alright guys, so that's it with the Homunculus update. We got to see all three elements in action in the dungeons. We talked about everything. If you liked the video, give it a like, subscribe, and you know what? We're going to be doing a few more videos this week. I got a guild war going on that I'm going to record, and we're going to talk about World Boss. So, I'll talk to everybody later. Thanks for watching, everybody.